In 2025, I picked up 74 new coaster credits, which are ones that I personally rode for the first time, regardless of when they originally opened. It brings my total up to 782, and having never left North America, it took careful planning to get 74 new ones this year. You can see that this is one of my better totals in the decade. Of those, 6 were SBF spinners and 10 were Alpine coasters. I do count Alpine coasters, but I usually don't include them in this list for the sake of comparing apples to apples. My 2-week Western U.S. trip in June accounted for 53 of the 74, thanks to my first visits to Silverwood, Lagoon, and many others. I like doing this list because it gives me a chance to give some attention to coasters that usually don't get talked about. Here are my honorable mentions. Wonder Woman is that low because I'm not a fan of those big raptors, as the sitting position causes me a lot of pain. Bombora is a very fun junior coaster. Snoopy at Knott's and those Daddy Pigs coasters are way more fun than they should be. Arctic Rescue should have been a lot higher, but it was an extremely rough ride. Wild Chipmunk is a miler Wild Mouse that is so unique. And Sidewinder Safari is a spinning mouse, which are all great rides that will spin like crazy if you have as much weight as possible on the far side. Starting off the main part of my list at number 25 is Desert Storm at Castles and Coasters. This is a quirky and intense Hopkins looper with a jolt of laterals if you ride in the back. The next two are a couple of relocated Aero loopers that ride great. Wild Thing at Wild Waves in Seattle is a loop corkscrew model, and Corkscrew at Silverwood is the first ever modern looping coaster. And both give good airtime if you ride in the back. The next 5 on my list fell a little short of expectations for different reasons. At 22, we're back at Wild Waves in Seattle for Timberhawk Ride of Prey, the S&S Woody that rides quite smooth, even in wheel seats, but there's not much airtime other than one notable moment. 21 is Timber Terror, the CCI hybrid at Silverwood. This Steel 208 retrack has it riding smooth, but there was basically no airtime. I wish it had remained a wood coaster. Number 20 is Wicked at Lagoon, the Zaire Tower launch coaster, with some great and some bad aspects. It is a rough ride, the shin guards might beat you up, and the second half does nothing. However, that vertical launch is awesome, there's great airtime over the top, and an outstanding zero-G roll. After this is where I would rank the Park City Mountain Coaster, one of the better ones that I've done. 19 is Defiance, the Gerstlauer Eurofighter at Glenwood Caverns. It is quite rattly, and those over-the-shoulder restraints can cause headbanging. But there is some great airtime and hang time, and the setting is amazing. 18 is Giant Dipper at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. It rode a bit rougher than I would prefer, and they have very strict assigned seating, but there was some okay airtime and laterals. Enough negativity, now on to several coasters that exceeded my expectations. 17 is Ice Mountain Bobsled at Enchanted Forest in Oregon. This is one of the coolest and most unique coasters in the country. The weird vehicles, the super tight clearances, and the setting should make this a bucket list ride for anyone who likes weird coasters. 16 is Zoom Coaster at Oaks Amusement Park in Portland. Don't be fooled by this E&F Miler kiddie coaster. This has legitimate ejector airtime, far stronger than mini coasters, more than 10 times its size. Locals know how good this is, as it was the only ride in the park with a line. Oddly, the only clone of this model is at Mount Olympus, and they don't allow any adults to ride it ever, even with your kid. So you've got to go to Oaks to get a ride on this adult coaster. Number 15 is Georgia Gold Rusher, the Intamin Ultra Surf at Six Flags Over Georgia. This seemed like a filler ride on the level of Aquaman, but Georgia Gold Rusher is so much better. It's got decent launches, great airtime and visuals, and the spinning cars can provide a lot of variety, giving it great re-ride value. 14 is Cliffhanger at Glenwood Caverns. This Hurricane model may have a few bumps, but it's not an issue because of the lap bars, and it provides some good forces and terrifying visuals. I was surprised that I liked this more than Defiance. 13 is Big Bad Wolf, the B&M family invert at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, and my new favorite family invert. The onboard audio adds so much to the ride, and it has great theming, and it's a long ride. 12 is Primordial at Lagoon. This shooting dark ride coaster took years to complete, and it was worth the wait. The mountain provides a great setting, and the finale has randomized themes and elements, which I won't spoil. This is a family ride, but it's one of the better ones. 11 is Adrenaline Peak, the Gerstlauer Eurofighter at Oaks Amusement Park in Portland. This isn't quite as good as its clone, Hydrus, but I still loved it. Great airtime and hang time, fairly smooth, and it only has lap bars. 10 is Roller Coaster, the 104-year-old Woody at Lagoon. Solid airtime and laterals, and it is quite smooth for a wood coaster. I prefer the back overall, but the front gave a sudden, shocking ejector airtime moment rising up into the final turnaround. Number 9 is Colossus, the Schwarzkopf double looper at Lagoon. It is so intense, perfectly smooth, great laterals. The loops had me graying out, and maybe the fastest operations I've ever seen. The train would only stop for 30 seconds unless a guest had an issue getting off or on. Number 8 is Aftershock at Silverwood, the Vekoma giant inverted boomerang with the original trains. It is intimidating with those vertical spikes, and it's one of the most intense rides I've ever ridden. I do recommend rows 1 or 3, the inside seats toward the front, as the back or outside seats can be a bit rough. Otherwise, this would be a top 100 coaster for me. Number 7 is Cannonball, the old school PTC Woody at Lake Winnipesaukee. This is such an underrated ride, and I was so impressed with it and the park. If you can handle a little bit of roughness, I recommend the wheel seats. Oddly, row 6 gave the best airtime, and the other wheel seats are rows 9 and 3, also giving great airtime. Number 6 is Tremors at Silverwood, the CCI, GCI, RMC, Frankenstein hybrid. This has such a great layout and delivers on airtime and laterals. The steel track has it riding quite smooth, but I still wish I could have experienced this when it was a wood coaster. Number 5 is New Mexico Rattler, a very solid CCI Woody at Cliffs in Albuquerque. It has great airtime and laterals throughout, and it is such an interesting and creative layout with how they fit this long ride into such tight spaces. The back gave the better ride, but the front had the best airtime moment on the speed hill, and it was not rough at all. Number 4 is Stunt Pilot, the RMC Raptor at Silverwood. I do love the small Raptors, as the sitting position isn't as big of an issue for me, and I think Stunt Pilot rides even better than the prototypes. The airtime seems stronger, it seems smoother, and it has theming. Number 3 is Circuit Breaker, the Vekoma Tilt Coaster at Codaland in Austin. They invited Ace to the park in early December, and I was able to make it to that. I may be the only person who has ridden this, but not Siren's Curse. But I was thoroughly impressed with Circuit Breaker. The tilt gimmick is a cool one, and it has a complete layout with great hang time and a mix of floater, ejector, and twisted airtime, and it rides perfectly smooth. It's not the most intense ride, but it is so much fun. Number 2 is Cannonball at Lagoon. That elevator lift and the first drop are very intimidating. It is very intense, causing even me to gray out, and there are 3 airtime moments plus hang time. Row 2 gave me the smoothest and the most forceful rides, but they do have strict assigned seating, but that also kept the line short all day. The other rows are rougher, the lap bar will come down tighter, and it is a short ride. Those are the nitpicks that held it down about 20 to 30 spots in my overall rankings, and because of that, my surprise favorite new coaster credit of 2025 is Rapterra, the launched B&M wing coaster at King's Dominion. Now, I am a huge fan of B&M wing coasters, as it's basically my favorite type of coaster that they make. Rapterra's launch is powerful, and it is a great layout. There are no dud elements like you have on Thunderbird. Every element on Rapterra hits, especially the dive loop. The world needs more dive loops. And the rattle was a complete non-issue, as it was no more rattly than any other B&M wing coaster, and none of them are very rattly. I have no doubt that I like Rapterra far more than I would have ever liked Volcano. I understand and respect that many people have sentimentality for Volcano, and for them, even the best coaster in the world wouldn't be a worthy replacement. But for me, without the sentimentality and just looking at Volcano's layout, I probably would have it ranked around number 150, but Rapterra is in my top 50, making it a more than worthy replacement for me. Here is a chart of my favorite new credits each year that I was able to pick up a new one. The first column is what was my favorite at the end of the year, and the second column is if I have changed my mind since then. So that does it for my favorite new credits of the year. Let me know in the comments what your favorite new credits were. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.